All right, Ricky, let's cuss. In this episode, we're going to share with you the acronym we use, CUSS, that has helped us to get 11,014,455 page views from just 6 blog posts. 11 million page views, 6 blog posts. So, what's the acronym?
CUSS. Okay. C-U-S-S. C is going to stand for a catchy title. It does not matter how awesome your blog post is unless you have a good title. It has to be something that's going to really attract people.
So let's look at some of the titles.
Yeah.
9 photography hacks that actually work. The actually work part, I think, is what gives that title the magic.
Right. There's lots of photography tips or hacks type posts.
And everybody's like,
Oh, okay, yeah.
But the actually work part, I think, is what just gives it the intrigue to that one. One was really simple. How to pose for a selfie. I couldn't believe this. So a guest writer wrote this on the blog, and I've got to admit, when I saw it on the blog, I thought, this is kind of, I don't know, for serious photographers, this is kind of sad content. It blew up because people are searching it all the time.
Yeah.
How to pose for a selfie, Instagram pictures and stuff. It was really interesting to see that one worked.
That's crazy. I can't believe that. But hey, it's the number 2 most viewed post.
Another one is 8 things you didn't know your DSLR could do. So a lot of people have a DSLR, and just the title, 8 things you didn't know it could do, kind of makes it, okay, I've got to find out what it is.
Yeah.
Just makes you need to click that. Very catchy
And
title.
it's only 8 things. It's not one of these where it's like 50 things and I have to click through from page to page to page to page to get to the good ones that are at the end. When people go to that post, it's super helpful right off the bat, answers the questions, very clear. We're not trying to trick people into clicking through multiple pages on a website, which I think is really important.
Yeah, another one is the photography tips that 96 photographers wish they would have learned sooner. And this one was easy to write because I just posted and I said, hey, what's a photography tip you wish you would have learned sooner? And the community on there just all responded. I took the 96 best ones and I added pictures and kind of explained some of them and stuff. I mean, this was a couple-hour project. And it brought in a lot of traffic to the website. And that one has been shared on Pinterest for years now. That's just been a very successful one. Yeah, so reviewing the titles as a whole, we saw 2 of them that have pretty boring titles.
Sure.
One is just Photography Basics, Aperture ISO Shutter Speed.
Yep.
And that one and the How to Pose for a Selfie, it's not really that they were such a catchy title, it's just that they were huge mega keywords.
Sure.
And they're incredibly mega hard to rank for that kind of thing. Usually you can only get there with a catchier title. All the rest of them got there because, one, it was good content, which we're going to talk about, but it had a great clickable title. And so the majority of these have a great clickable title, and that's going to help project your blog post forward.
Yeah, and it helps make those blog posts a lot more shareable. So even if the content is really great, shareable content, the fact that there's a really, really catchy title is what's going to make that type of a post go or be more likely to go viral in a social setting like Pinterest or something like that. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Next, let's continue with our cussing and let's talk about U. U stands for unique ideas. So tell us about some of the unique ideas behind these posts.
Well, so this is something that may seem obvious, but it's really not. When you go to write a blog post, let's say your blog post is camping tips for camping with a family. You know, there are some tips that are just going to come to anybody's mind immediately. Things like lower your expectations. If it doesn't turn out perfect, it's okay. You know, things like that are just like, anybody who sits down is just, you can kind of spew out these tips. Or maybe you're in an industry where it's just kind of the tips that you've read on a million blogs every time. And that kind of content is just not going to get people excited if you're just writing about the obvious things. So usually when I'm doing one of these like list posts, I'll immediately sit down and whatever my first 4 ideas are that come to my head don't get to go in the post. They're out. And I want to think of something unique. Something like, you know, teach your kids how to make the tinfoil dinner, themselves, and then they'll be excited about cooking it and eating it. If it's just like, here, kid, take this burnt offering, they might not want it, Find something that's unique, something that's actually worked for you and non-obvious, and that's the kind of content people really want.
Yeah, so some examples of this from these 6 posts. One that stands out to me, 21 things you can do today to change your photography forever. So to me, that headline is telling me this is 21 things I can do right now that are just going to change it all.
Right. So if your tips are rule of thirds, learn aperture, ISO, and shutter speed, it's like, whoopee!
Yeah.
It's just not
Learn
interesting.
how to be a photographer.
Right. You got to come up with something new and interesting.
Yep.
Something like, print out your 20 favorite photos, put them on a table, and invite people who haven't seen your photos. Just bring over a neighbor or a friend and just ask them, what do you think? What's your favorite photo here? And you learn all kinds of things about your photo and how they're viewed by others that you hadn't recognized before.
Yeah.
That's a unique tip. It's not something that everybody's just spewing out. So you have to think of unique, creative ideas. For some of you, this comes easily, and it's easy to kind of be creative. For some of you, it's going to take practice, but everybody can do it.
That's me. I don't naturally come up with the off-the-wall, really creative ideas on my own. So for me, I have to use a little bit more of a formal brainstorming process. I have to allow sort of that stream of consciousness to just take hold. I might have to throw away the first 12 ideas that come to mind before unique ones start to flow, but they do start to flow. Whatever brainstorming process you like to use, whether it's just coming up with ideas off the wall, maybe just Googling things over and over and over again until something comes to your mind. You say, okay, well, I read these 20 other things that everybody's talking about, but it reminded me there's this other thing. This would be really helpful. And the more you kind of go down that path of brainstorming, that you'll start to come up with all these kind of crazy ideas. So even if you're not an overly creative person like me, it can be done.
Yeah, in that post, the 96 things photographers wish they would have learned sooner, I don't remember, this is years ago, but I'll betcha I had 300 things submitted, and I threw away all the ones that were too obvious. I just wanted it to be the unique stuff that gets people excited.
I thought that was a really cool, unique idea too, to crowdsource the content. So, you can't do this at first because if it's a brand new website, you don't really have any sort of audience.
But you could go on to like a Facebook group in your industry and do that.
Exactly, and I think that's overlooked a lot. There's a lot of things you can learn and glean from Facebook groups. There's information being shared that's not being shared in a real good searchable way online, like in blogs or niche websites. But it is being shared in a community, and if you can gather that kind of information, poll the participants, you can actually put together a lot of really awesome content for a website. That's a technique that some of our students in Niche Site School had used. Anyway, I just think it's a really cool idea. It's not something I thought of off the top of my head years ago, but as people started doing it, it became obvious that it's a good tool.
All right. Next is S for spreadable medium. By this, we just mean if a post is really going to get that kind of reach, you need something more than just people who happened upon your blog and see it, on the homepage on your blog roll. That's not going to be good enough for this kind of content that just goes bananas. So you need kind of a strategy for how this post is going to get out. Maybe it's through a YouTube video. You create a YouTube video that pushes people over to that post. Maybe you create 15 YouTube videos that all push toward one blog post, and then that post can just really see some energy going forward. Maybe it's Pinterest. This is a very visual kind of post. The post is something like 21 beautiful Southern style mansions. If you have an architecture blog and you have beautiful pictures, well, that'd be perfect to spread on Pinterest because it's visual. You have 21 different pictures, so you can make 21 different pins sending people to this website. And so you make your tall image to send on Pinterest, and you really do a campaign to get that pin out there, to get it starting to spread. Whatever it is that you decide is your medium, plan for a way for this to get out to the masses. Without that, as good as it is, it just won't go crazy. Now, of these blog posts, a lot of them were spread because of Pinterest. Some from Facebook, back when Facebook used to do that for us. I wouldn't rely on that as a strategy now. But 2 of them are there because of organic search. And now those are the 2 ones with the boring titles. The photography basics and the how to pose for a selfie. They're organic search.
Right. So you may get posts that will, be top kind of almost viral posts that don't necessarily meet all of the CUS criteria. But I think that if you can nail the CUSS, then the probability of a given post to go viral, I think, shoots up dramatically. I think that's the important point, is that you can't ever guarantee that a post you're going to create is going to be the one that goes viral.
Nope.
But if you can, when these posts were created, we didn't have an acronym. Nobody was cussing at us. Okay.
I wish I would have.
Yeah. But we didn't have a guide, and so this is us learning from history. What are the things that worked well?
And the final S is 6 hours plus. Maybe this should be 60 hours because it's about spending time on the post. With the one exception of the crowdsourced content, all of these are ones that took just a tremendous amount of time to prepare. You know, the kind of blog post where you've been writing that same blog post for 5 days and you're just like, I am wasting my time. This is taking too long. Well, now looking back in hindsight at those ones that I spent a crazy amount of time on, like they were almost all winners. It just shows when you put a lot of time into your work and create something fantastic. It just has that extra 5% that people recognize as this is something different, and it makes them want to share it.
There are posts that we've worked together on for 4 to 6 hours, and we're talking wordsmithing every word in the post, making sure, and the wordsmithing is probably not the most important part. I think the most important part is making sure that you have put together really fantastic content. Something that is so helpful. There's nothing else like it on the whole internet, even though it's a big keyword. Because that's the other thing you notice with a lot of these is they're not the little keywords. These are not the tiny little articles that answer a specific niche down keyword. These are the big keywords that are really hard to rank for. And the way to rank for them is with a really awesome, strong, in-depth, meaty post that you've spent a long time on. Yeah,
I totally agree with that. It really does take a lot of planning to get here, and there are so many things you can do in that time. In addition to just thinking of the unique ideas and doing the wordsmithing, it's about getting not just a good image, but the perfect image on this post. And also, I do a lot of great formatting on these posts where I'm putting a lot of time into it. Make that post scannable. Add some bolded lines in some of the paragraphs, so if people are getting bored, they're just visually going to skip down to the next bolded section and continue. We're going to have, bulleted list and colors in there, just different things to make it visually interesting to read the post. And then the other thing is, after you've done a nice job of formatting, you got to ask for that share in there. Make it. Don't just have nice images and hope people pin it. Be a little proactive and say, if you like this, go share this on your Pinterest board. Or wouldn't this image look awesome on your Pinterest board so you don't forget it? Whatever, something like that. Just, it's worth asking for.
Absolutely. We've done that in posts too, where you make the nice tall Pinterest image, and then in the caption you say something along the lines of, hey, I spent a really long time on this post. I'd really appreciate it if you'd be willing to share it, or if you'd be willing to pin it.
Yeah.
And you know what? People do. They see that, they're like, yeah, this was super helpful. I'm totally going to pin this. Might as well ask.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is the CUS method of writing a viral blog post. You need to have a variety of different posts. That's what we show in Project 24. But when you're ready to get started with your blog, the place to go is incomeschool.com/new. That's incomeschool.com/new. That is where you're actually going to say, all right, I'm tired of just learning about internet marketing. I'm ready to actually do this. It helps you to pick your niche really quickly, get Bluehost, get sign up, get your WordPress on there, and you're actually started. There's a lot to learn as you move forward, but that's the way that you say, I'm ready to go.
Exactly. It's a 100% free tutorial. That's a perfect example of what we've been talking about here.
Yeah,
we put hours
like
and hours
20
into
hours
this,
combined on that.
into this post to make it as helpful and just as good of a step-by-step guide to walk you through exactly what you need to do to get your website set up, go get your hosting, go get WordPress on it, and we even walk you through the next steps and help you get it set up so that you can get started creating
Our
content
favorite plugins, all that kind of stuff.
So you can get started on a fantastic new website.
Thanks everybody, and we'll see you in the next video. Subscribe.